You are now tuned into Shotgun Sports USA. Powered by Winchester. Recorded in the U.S. and streaming all over the world. We talk to shotgun shooters from all disciplines, championship-winning coaches, gun clubs, world-class target setters, vendors, and industry-leading companies that fuel the sport. If you are into clay target sports, you are at the right place for insider information from some of the best in the world every single week. Remember to subscribe to our podcast, leave us a review, and connect with us on social media. You can also catch our episodes on shotgunsportsusa.com. Being a brand name in the clay target industry, Rick Hemingway has said, "Have you ever noticed almost all major sporting events are being run by Pro-Matic traps?" Think about that statement for a minute. He's right, and you may want to consider that before making your next purchase. Rick is the largest Pro-Matic dealer specializing in individual and commercial trap sales. Rick provides skeet, trap, 5-stand, and sporting clays, designs, installs, and service. He also offers accessories such as solar panels, wireless release systems, as well as the hottest item on the market, the Claybot by Renair Products. Visit www.backwoodsquailclub.com or give him a call at 843-546-1466. Castellani shooting vests are manufactured in Italy and internationally recognized by elite shooters as the most popular, lightweight shooting vests on the market. Castellani vests are especially known for their Italian styling and superior craftsmanship and quality, making them a vest of choice for all shooting disciplines. Ultimate Shooting Accessories is the exclusive supplier of Castellani vests in the United States. Visit ultimateshootingaccessories.com for more information and to place your order.
My guest today is a professional shooter and coach out of Texas. He was a former member of the PSCA and travels the U.S. shooting on the NSCA Winchester Championship Tour. Please welcome Theo Ribbs. Theo, welcome to the show.
Hey, JB, thank you for having me. I guess this is the second time I've been on.
Yeah.
Few things have changed since you guys had me on a couple years ago, so I'm looking forward to digging into that.
Yeah, I was going to say it's been a while since we talked, but how's everything been going?
Man, everything's been going well. Season's been okay. Wish it would have had gone a little bit better to this point. Obviously, we got a few more championships to change that. Obviously, the big one at the end of the year, the Nationals.
Right.
Think changing guns mid-season has been a little bit difficult, but I'm starting to, pick up the pace now and building some confidence with the gun in myself.
You've been shooting all over the country this year. I mean, You've been in Georgia and you've been in, where were you just at, Montana or something like that?
Yeah, I was just in Montana.
I know you're the Northeast, and you've just been I've seen you all over. What's been your favorite tournament so far, and why?
I'd probably say the Wisconsin shoot, the North Central Regional was probably my favorite. I thought the targets were really good. Nothing like crazy over the top, but there was some stretches in there that could ruin a scorecard for you, which it did for a lot of people.
It did.
But good birds. They were solid. Joe Finizzi shot a pair of 96s, which was pretty stout.
Yeah.
And totally deserved to win, obviously.
Yeah.
I would say that's been probably my favorite tournament so far. The weather was great. And I'd never been up there to shoot before, so I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was different for sure. Everything seemed to be in a cornfield, which is neat to me. and if you were too short, sometimes you may have a problem hitting them or seeing some of the targets. But they were. I thought they were excellent. They were just you can miss them easily.
Oh yeah.
I thought they were great targets. So
Yeah, I mean the 5 stand obviously was kind of the deal that everybody had a little issue with.
mhm.
Other than that, I thought the main event targets were great.
Yeah,
They had some really cool terrain there, and I liked it.
yeah,
So
yeah. Um, you said you changed guns just a second ago. Tell me about that a little bit.
I went back to shooting a Beretta DT11.
Hmm.
I used to shoot one from 2013 to 15, and I had a lot of success with it. It's probably the gun I shot the best
Right.
and most consistent.
Hmm.
Um, and I liked shooting the Kohler. It was for me, it was just a little bit tough. It seemed like I couldn't shoot it consistently well. I would put up, some big numbers here and there, but I was more looking for consistency. And as you know, in this game, that's pretty much everything.
Right. Yep.
So that's what I was looking for, and so I decided to get a DT11 from Rich Cole and start going to work on that. And I'm actually going to do a custom stock with him in the off season.
Yeah. It's hard to get away from a Beretta.
No, they're great guns, man.
They are.
Obviously their barrel technology is second to none. I think obviously the best patterning gun in the sport.
Right.
And I just like the way it moves. The triggers are great. I mean, if you are moving from, say, a Krieghoff or a Kohler and you want mechanical triggers, Rich can turn those triggers into mechanical triggers, which is pretty amazing.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did some research about it, and I didn't know prior, and I watched a video of him, turning those triggers into mechanical triggers, and I was like, wow, that's pretty impressive. So,
Yeah, it is. That brings up a good topic, and confidence plays a huge role in a shooter's success. So, how does someone build confidence in themselves and their equipment?
I just think it comes in preparation. The more you're practicing and the more you're practicing well, and if you can turn that practice into, consistent good results in competition, I think then that's where you start to gain confidence in yourself. And if you obviously have a hole in your game or something, you can, not everybody can, but some people can go set that target and work on that target and turn it into a strength. And it's all about just trying to obviously minimize mistakes and strengthen your weaknesses, and until you have confidence in your game and you can go out there and execute under pressure in competition.
Yeah, and changing guns, like we just spoke about, confidence in your new gun takes a while. How can you quickly build confidence in your gun, or can you?
Man, it's really hard. Um, the biggest thing for me was when I got the new DT11. It came with an adjustable comb, and I couldn't get the gun to shoot where I was looking without canning the gun, and so I had to, do a pattern stock in the meantime, just to try and get the gun shooting where I was looking without canning it,
Mm-hmm.
and then focus on, hitting birds after that. But it's a process. It's something I actually talked to Zach Keenbaum about. Was to not rush that part of the process, to get the gun right for me,
Right.
and to build confidence after that. At the end of the day, I know I have the talent to do well. I've done it before, so
Right.
it's just building confidence in the gun again, and then sort of using that momentum and to keep building more momentum after that.
Yeah. Well, you've been coaching, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that some of your students probably talk about that. How is your coaching going, and where are you coaching out of?
It's going good so far.
Yeah.
I coach a lot of kids.
Mm-hmm.
Coach a lot of kids on the Dripping Springs High School shooting team. That's the high school I actually went to
Yeah.
here in Texas, and I enjoy it, man. To actually, one of my students last year, he won D class main event at the Nationals, and I had started working with this kid from the time he first picked up a gun. So to see him, starting to pick up steam and get better and build confidence in himself and know that I'm been a part of that.
Yeah.
Obviously it makes you feel good about yourself.
Right.
So no, I love it. I love um, just being a student of the game and listening to other guys too. Other coaches, whether it's Anthony or Dan or whoever, and using some of their terminology in my lessons and things like that.
Yeah. How does that? I mean, you've been coached by some of the best in the game.
Yeah.
How does being coached by them help you coach people?
Well, the biggest thing is you have to understand not only what they're telling you, but I feel like you have to be able to execute it yourself, right?
Right.
In my opinion, to fully understand something, you got to be able to go out and do it yourself. So if your student is not completely understanding what you're trying to tell them, you can show them. Some people are visual people and they need to see it with their own eyes to understand how to exactly do that. So, and that's where I'm like, okay, if I'm going to tell these students that I'm teaching these things, I need to be able to execute them on demand myself so I can show them and not only tell them.
Yeah. There are some coaches I know of that
Mhm.
can't do that.
Right.
So
Yep.
how does, I think that just holds credibility in the coach, being
I
able
agree.
to do what you're trying to show them how to do. So,
Yeah, for sure. You understand it at every level then,
right.
right?
Hmm.
Once you can do it yourself, you fully grasp the concept that you're trying to teach them. If you got somebody that's sitting there, telling you to, do something just because they heard, some pro say it or whatever, well, dude, you don't really quite understand
Yeah.
the whole concept fully, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. You just took a lesson with, in my opinion, and probably a lot of people's opinions, one of the best coaches in the country or world or however you want to say it,
Yep.
which was Anthony Matterese Jr. How was that experience for you, and what are some things that you have learned from him?
I would say it was definitely one of the best lessons I've taken. And, I've worked with Dan and Bill McGuire, Dan Carlisle and Bill McGuire previously.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony was, in terms of how he could explain something and really get you to understand it with different metaphors or analogies or whatever. And that was the biggest thing. I was struggling with a few things. I had a little bit too much weight on my front foot. I had a little bit too much pressure in my hands. And the way he explained it to me so I could really understand what he meant, and then I could go back home and practice these things and know that I was doing them correctly every single time. That was the biggest difference, in my opinion. Dan is unbelievable with getting you to visually see the birds well, and then to understand how to connect and break away from the bird. And Anthony was just a little bit different on the technical side and the fundamental part where I was struggling. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Pressure in your hands. I've always had an issue with that.
hmm
Holding on to the gun too tight. And I don't
Yep.
know why I do that. I think it's just because I think it's going to fall out of my hands. And I don't think that
Right.
if you really think about it, it probably won't. But
Yeah.
how important is that?
I didn't realize how important it was, because it was a big issue for me for a long time, and I kind of just got away with it. But yeah, I used to grip the gun so tight, and it affects it from the standpoint is sometimes you're not as smooth on the trigger as you want, or you're not moving with the bird as smooth as you want. So, if you're pulling the trigger and it's jerky, that moves the barrel, which
Hmm.
in effect, it, affects the pattern on the way to the target. So,
Yeah.
but the biggest thing for me was okay, well, I don't want to get to the point where my hands are so loose that I don't feel like I'm in control of the gun. So, that was where we had to kind of break it down so I could really understand what I needed to feel in my hands so I had a sense of security with moving, with moving the gun.
Do you plan on taking any more lessons with him?
Yeah, definitely. Whenever he gets an opening, which is obviously really hard
Yeah.
to find.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I definitely, it's something that I think maybe annually or twice a year, something like that. I would definitely like to do.
You believe that to be a top shooter, you have to be a complete shooter. Explain to
Yep.
me what you mean by this.
What I mean by that is you have to, be able to kind of execute every method um, that's out there, whether that's, pull away or even come, letting the bird beat you and come from behind or maintain or collapse or whatever, you have to be able to use, each and every tool confidently, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's so many different birds nowadays, especially, we're shooting 70s, 60s, rabus, rabbits, you name it. The target setters are getting really good, and to obviously to compete at the highest level, you got to be able to do it all.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I meant by that.
And that takes a while to get to.
Yes, it does.
That takes a lot of practice and a lot of coaching, a lot of good coaching to be able to understand those targets. And some people don't understand that, but it does take a lot. It's not something that happens overnight.
No, and if you plan on taking this sport serious and you want to do well, you got to dedicate yourself. And you know, obviously nobody wins every shoot, so you don't let a few bad performances discourage you. Just keep grinding and working hard, and working with guys that know what they're doing, and eventually, usually people break through.
Let's talk about the future of sporting clays. And this is a topic wherever you go. Good, bad, indifferent. Everyone has an opinion on what needs to happen. What's your take on this topic?
Yeah, it's obviously a tricky topic, and we all have, like you said, different opinions on where we believe the sport needs to go. But obviously, everything right now is so social media heavy, and most of us are always on our phones nowadays, whether it's if you have kids or yourself or your wife or whoever. And so with that being said, people posting on social media or doing podcasts or just kind of for lack of a better word, flooding social media with content of shooting, and obviously a positive way and a sport driven way, because obviously sport is so huge in the US. I think if we can continue to do that, I think it'll only be a positive thing, because the media spins firearms such in a negative way nowadays that we need to keep it positive, and keep it, in a sport kind of thing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And hopefully one day we can get back to having another, professional series, and get it on TV. But I think for now, if we can all just keep uh, keep the content pushing, with guys like you and Nick Berry,
Right.
Just keep making videos and post, and then for the shooters, if we're at shoots or whatever, we need to do our best, obviously, to post as well.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That needs to, I think the whole sport, I think everyone from the top to the bottom could do better with social media. It's
I agree, myself included too.
I mean, even the NSCA, all of these people need to post good stuff about what's going on, how it happened, who won, especially with the youth. I think that's a huge piece of the puzzle that we're missing. And it don't take a lot. It don't take a lot to do it. You don't have to have some professional do it for you.
No.
As a matter of fact, I like to see posts that don't look professional.
Sure.
I mean,
sure.
it just makes it look, all that more real. So,
And I think maybe some people are hesitant to doing so because they don't want to post, because maybe they don't feel like they quite know what they're doing or whatever.
mhm.
But at the end of the day, people just have to do it. And the more you do something, the better you're going to get at it. So you just got to dive in head first at the end of the day.
Yeah, you can't let that bother you. You just got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yep.
Some exciting news is you were recently picked up by what I call the American legend. That's what they call themselves too, which is Winchester. And,
Yeah.
they're 100% dedicated to shooting sports. And
Yep.
they want to be involved in the sport in every aspect, trap, skeet, sporting clays. How has it been to be a part of Team Winchester?
It has been awesome. So a lot of people don't know I used to be sponsored by them back when I was a junior. So there's a few guys that still work for Team Winchester that were there when I was a junior shooter. So it's cool to kind of get back with some of those guys. But in terms of just Team Winchester as a whole, they're so great at making it sort of like a team that feels sort of like a family. They're very good at
Mm-hmm.
communication, whether it's email or our conference calls or whatever it is. Of any sponsor I've had in the sport, their communication skills are number one by far. And obviously, that's a huge part, because when you're not communicating, you don't have that you still don't have I don't know, it's not a right feel. But when
Right.
you are communicating, um, it's awesome. Obviously, they do a ton for the sport, like you said, not only in sporting clays, but trap, ski, free gun,
Yeah.
the the whole nine. So, they are so dedicated, and they're pretty darn good on social media and just making the shooting sports positive. And I couldn't be more pleased to represent their company. And obviously, I'm super thankful to be a part of the team.
Winchester has been rooted in your family for generations. I mean,
Hmm.
tell me how this ammo has been playing a role in your family and give me some history as you saw it growing up.
Well, my great grandfather, I didn't know him too well. He passed away when I was 3 years old. But as I'm told by my dad, who was actually raised by him, um, when he was growing up, cases of ammo were like I think 500 a case instead of 250. And he said, when they went out quail hunting or dove hunting, that's all they ever used was Winchesters. And so when my dad retired from racing and he wanted to start competing, that's all I really ever shot was Winchester. And so to obviously get picked up by them, as a pro shooter now, uh, kind of just comes full circle. And I obviously, if I'm going to buy the ammo prior to even being sponsored by them, obviously I believe it's the best ammunition.
Yeah,
You know,
that's what a lot of people say.
I'm not just saying that because now they sponsor me.
What load are you shooting?
I shoot the ounce and A super handicap 1250 number eights.
Mm-hmm. Have you tried the Elite Trap Diamond Grade yet?
I have not tried that shell yet, actually.
They make it in a 1 1/8 1250.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Yeah.
wow, man! Try that then.
Yeah. That's what I said. That's what I said. Donnie, I need to get some of that.
Yeah.
So he's got me some coming. It's supposed to be a bad shell. So we'll try some of that out.
Can't wait to try it, man.
Yeah. All right. So you mentioned your dad a minute ago, and
Mm-hmm.
I find your dad interesting because I grew up in racing. You grew up in racing, and he grew up racing, which is
Yep.
and he's driving the stuff that everyone wants to drive: the Formula One cars, NASCAR. I know he raced the Truck Series, the Indy cars. He even raced it at Daytona, and he raced it the Indy 500. I mean, how did this career that your dad had, which is an amazing career, help shape you in the sport that you're in, which is sporting clays?
Um. So growing up, I never wanted to have what you call a regular job. Obviously, see my dad travel around the world and and compete in racing, and that was always a goal of mine to be, professional in some kind of athletic aspect. And so I obviously knew whatever I did, I had to dedicate myself and become a student of the game and work extremely hard because that's what he did. Now whether that was training in terms of working out or staying on the phone and getting sponsors, and then when you get to the track or what I do the course, you got to focus 100% and give your best effort. And so he just gave me all the tools in terms of to be able to speak to sponsors, um, and then the work ethic side, which obviously is the most important because if you're not working hard and you're not doing well, you're not going to get the sponsors that you need,
Yep.
to go to the next level. So he just it was kind of just sit back and be quiet and watch. That was kind of my childhood, just to watch how he kind of ran his business in a way, um, and the things he did, and then I just try to translate that into what I do now.
Yeah. Sponsorships and racing, I've always brought this up, especially people I talk to on a regular
Mm-hmm.
basis, is the sponsorships in the racing is nothing like sponsorships in shooting.
No.
It is such a, I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, you go to some of these races, of course, your family's involved in, we'll just call it circle track because, I was involved in drag racing, which is straight, and
Yep.
you can go to these tracks and in drag racing, the race teams host the sponsors.
Yep.
It's not the sponsors hosting the race teams. So
That's right.
it's really unbelievable to watch how careful and how thought out the process is when it comes to the drivers and the teams having their sponsors come to the race with them. It's really unbelievable.
No, and they got it down to a science. They really know how to build relationships the right way, and that's what sponsorship's all about.
Yeah.
Obviously, you got to be able to perform, but you also have to be able to build relationships with these people, and to where it's not an aspect of giving and receiving, but yeah, that's part of it. But you have to actually like the people you're dealing with
Right.
as well.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what it's all about, is getting along with them, promoting the product. I'm sure you'll get
Yep.
some product to use whatever sport you're in, but you have to promote the product and do a good job for them. In turn, they'll do one for you,
Exactly.
So what they also made a documentary about your dad, and it's currently on Netflix. It's called Uppity, and
Yep.
it's a documentary of his life. I've heard that it's a really good documentary. I have not watched it yet, but I want to watch it. How has it been for the both of you to see this played on one of the largest streaming networks in the world?
It's been pretty amazing. I mean, my dad had always talked about it when I was a little kid. That there was always different things talked about being having a movie made about his racing life, and to finally watch it happen. And I was there when most of it was recorded. Um, so to kind of get the behind the scenes feel for it, I mean, it's crazy. I honestly can't believe it. It's been huge for my dad. He's been on CNN and doing all kinds of different interviews and podcasts and all kind of different things, and it's really awesome to see him get the recognition he deserves. Uh, he didn't get quite exactly what he was looking for in his racing career in certain ways. So to kind of get that on the back end for him was is really awesome. And now they're actually working on a Showtime series based on the documentary
Really?
as well. Yep.
So tell me a little bit about what this documentary is about. I mean, where does it start? Like when he's a kid, or how does it start?
Yeah, so it starts when he's a kid, and how he got introduced into the sport through my grandfather. And what funded my grandfather was our plumbing business in California that his dad had started. And my dad was going from track to track with my grandpa on the weekends, and he fell in love with the sport at a young age, and he told his parents that he wanted to go to England and start racing Formula Fords, which at the time was the under series of Formula One, and that's where he won his first championship, and the rest is history. So.
When did he stop racing the truck series?
That was 2001, so he raced for about 30 years, pretty solid.
That's crazy. 30 years. Yep. Does he still go to some of these races?
He actually raced this year. He ran a series called SRX. It was the first year of the series. It's sort of a superstar series owned by Tony Stewart, which obviously most people know,
right?
From NASCAR. And so he ran 6 weeks straight this summer, and for 66, man, I'll give it up to him, man. He did a heck of a job to just be there and run it weekend after weekend. And he said after the first race he was pretty exhausted, but he was starting to build stamina towards the end of the series.
Have you ever, I'm sure you have, but have you ever been in like a NASCAR, the ride and drives they do?
I've never been in
really
ride and drive of IndyCar or NASCAR or anything. I would love to.
Yeah.
But my dad's never gotten to one, and because they have like 2-seater Indy cars that you can get in and take you around the track, but I've never done it yet.
I was in a NASCAR one time, just riding. I just rode a few laps, and when you get out, it's unbelievable at how wore out you feel. I don't know how those guys do it for 500 and 600 laps. It blows my mind.
It's crazy. I mean, the G-forces that they're pulling in their bodies for that amount of time, it's pretty crazy. I mean, you're talking 4.5, 5 to 6 Gs, in some of these corners, and to do that over and over, for a 2-hour period, that's pretty nuts. And they got to be in shape for a reason.
That's right. So do you and your dad still shoot? Does he still shoot with you?
He hunts with me. Like when I go out and practice, sometimes he'll shoot with me every now and again. But we do a lot of hunting together in the off season. We shoot a lot of doves together. We're actually going up to Idaho to go chukar and quail hunting in November, and then we shoot cranes every year. So yeah, we hunt a lot. So
yeah,
that's kind of his passion right now. And actually, he's been shooting some Halise, so he's been liking shooting that. So
I hadn't seen him at a shoot this year. I don't think. Has he been with you?
He was in Georgia. He was there. The only shoot he's been to this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that was the first shoot. He kind of goes to about one a year now. My girlfriend goes with me for the most part, or I'll go by myself. But yeah, that's part of getting older, right?
That's right. All right. Well, Theo, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate your time, and look forward to seeing you at the next shoot.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on again, and I'll probably see you at Nationals.
Yeah, man. Sounds good. Tell your dad I said hi.
I will.
All right. See you, bud.